Hi, everybody. I'm Christy Sink. I'm a member of CCA's Human Resources Department, and I'm continuing to read out of the Animal Rescue Center series, and this one is called The Abandoned Hamster. Chapter 9, The Runaway Dog. Hugo is really tame and friendly, Caleb was telling a woman named Martha Shaw who had come to Animal Magic with her twin daughters, Leanne and Beth. He'd carry Hugo's cage into the reception area and put it on the desk. Mrs. Shaw lifted each girl to peer inside. The brown rabbit flicked his long ears. He crept forward to the bars, wrinkling his nose and twitching his whiskers. The twins smiled and giggled. "He's perfect. Can we have him?" "Yes, if you promise to take turns feeding him and cleaning his hutch," their mom agreed. "And give him lots of cuddles," Ella added. She'd seen how well things were going and was hovering by the computer ready to take Hugo off the website. "We promise," the girls chorused. So Caleb and Ella gave the twins some flyers about how to care for a rabbit while Joel took the family's details. "This is incredible," Ella cried after the Shaws had left with Hugo. She danced around the waiting area, pretending to wave a magic wand. It was only 3 o'clock, and they were having amazingly good luck. "Who says we can't find homes for 5 pets in one day?" "Hugo, Buster, Frankie." Caleb counted the names on his fingers. "Duh, that's only 3. "Someone else is coming in to visit the kennels in half an hour," she reminded him. "Mom said they were interested in a Jack Russell, and we've got Gus." "Which will make 4, not 5, Caleb said stubbornly. Ella frowned and thought hard. "Wait here," she said, dashing outside. She ran next door and found Annie and her dad sitting in the sunshine. "Hi, Mr. Brooks. Hi, Annie. Where's your mom?" "Out in the field with the ponies." "Why?" Annie looked up from her book. "Nothing. I just need to see her." Quickly, Ella slipped through the back gate into the pony field, where she spotted Mrs. Brooks busily pulling up weeds by the fence. "Hi, Buttercup. Hi, Chance," Ella said, pausing to pet the gray mare in her foal. She gave Rosie a quick pat, then put her hands to her ears as Mickey gave his ear-splitting greeting. "Ouch, Mickey. Nice to see you, too." The noise made Mrs. Brooks look up. "Hello, Ella," she waved. Ella jogged over to join her. "I'm digging up ragwort," Mrs. Brooks explained. "I don't want to run the risk of Buttercup and the rest eating it." "No way." Ella was happy to help dig up the poisonous weed. She tugged at the roots and threw the plants into the bucket. "So how are Buttercup and Chance today?" she asked casually. "Fine, thanks." "And Rosie?" "Rosie's doing fine as well." "Have you found anyone who wants a beautiful little Shetland pony yet?" Ella shook her head. "No, but we will soon." "And how's Mickey?" "Ee-aw." The donkey kicked up his heels and cantered across the field. "Fine." Mrs. Brooks looked hard at Ella. "What are you up to?" she asked. "I'm helping you with the ragwort," she said innocently. "No, really. I'm getting a strong feeling that you want something." Ella took a deep breath and stood up. "Okay, you're right. I do. It's about Mickey. He's sweet, isn't he?" "Sweet is not quite the word I'd use." "But you like him?" "I wouldn't say like exactly either." "He makes you laugh?" Ella persisted. "He's funny. He's interesting, clever." Just then, Mickey reared up as a black and white shape came hurtling across the field toward him. "Ee-aw, ee-aw." "And noisy," Mrs. Brooks sighed. "And no, Ella, before you ask, I won't adopt Mickey." Ella's shoulders sagged. "But it was worth a try," Mrs. Brooks said with a smile. In any case, Ella had recognized the black and white creature racing through the long grass. "Bonnie!" she called. The runaway dog barked and swerved away from Mickey, then bounded toward Ella. "Sit!" Ella said sternly, and Bonnie obeyed. "You're a bad girl," Ella said, wagging her finger. "You've run away from home, haven't you?" Bonnie gazed up with her big dark eyes in an expression that said, "Please don't tell on me." "And now I'm going to have to take you back." Ella tried not to smile at Bonnie's crestfallen look. "Heel," she told her, setting off up the field. "Good as gold," Bonnie trotted along at Ella's side. "I'm taking you back home," Ella told the runaway, "and I'm going to tell them to keep an eye on you." She talked quietly as they reached the road and turned right. "This is a busy road. You could have been run over. I bet it's Katie's fault," she grumbled. "She probably left the gate open. Sit, Bonnie. Wait for this car. Okay, now we can cross. Heel. Good girl. We're almost there." Chapter 10, A Terrible Mistake. Ella took Bonnie up to the front door of the old ivy-covered house and rang the doorbell. "Hello, is anyone home?" There was no answer, so she walked around the side. "Hello," she called again hopefully. She was anxious to drop off Bonnie and get back to animal magic. It was Bonnie who decided what to do next. She trotted toward the back porch and pushed at the half-open door. "Good girl," Ella muttered. She followed Bonnie inside and went to fill up a dish with fresh water as Bonnie padded into the kitchen looking for Clyde. Just as Ella finished, she spotted Katie Platt through the open door running up the driveway. "Have you seen Bonnie?" Katie gasped. "We were taking the 2 dogs on a walk by the river, but she ran away." Ella stared. Katie had obviously sprinted all the way home. Her fair hair was sticking to her forehead and her face was pink. "Bonnie's here," she answered quietly. "I brought her back." "I told Dad not to let her off the leash," Katie panted. "We were near the golf course and she ran off to chase a ball. She wouldn't come back when we called." Ella nodded. "I caught her in the field behind Mr. and Mrs. Brooks's house." Katie pushed her hair back from her face. Then she ran to check on Bonnie. "Thank goodness," she cried, peering around the kitchen door. "Here, Bonnie." Bonnie bounded out and jumped up at Katie, licking her face and leaving dirty paw marks on her t-shirt. "Sit," Katie pleaded. But as usual, the excited dog ignored her. "Do the arm movement at the same time," Ella said. "Like this. Sit." This time, Bonnie obeyed Ella's command. "You do it," Ella told Katie. But Katie shook her head and headed out of the back porch. She began to trail back down the driveway. "Hey, stop," Ella called. She closed the door on Bonnie and ran after Katie. "It's easy, and Bonnie's a fast learner." "I don't want to do it," Katie insisted. "If you're so clever, why don't you take them both, Bonnie and Clyde, and let them live with you at Animal Magic?" The word stopped Ella in her tracks. Then she grew angry. "That's right. Send them to the rescue center. At least this time you're not just dumping them like you dumped Hamlet." Katie had reached the gates, but now she stopped too. She turned to face Ella. "What are you talking about?" she asked slowly. "I said at least this time you're not dumping them into a garbage can and leaving them to die." "What? Who's Hamlet?" Katie insisted. Ella felt as if she was about to burst. She was so mad. "You know who Hamlet is, and don't think I can't see why you want to send Bonnie and Clyde to Animal Magic. It's because you can't handle them, and you're jealous of Caleb and me because we can." "No, I'm not." Katie's face had changed from flush pink to deep red. She clenched her hands into fists. Suddenly, Ella noticed the tears that had sprung to Katie's eyes. Her own anger fizzled out, and she stood puzzled in the middle of the driveway. "Okay," Katie admitted, "I haven't been any good with Bonnie and Clyde. They jump up all the time and pull when they're on the leash. I never knew training them would be so hard. Mom and Dad haven't had any time to help me, and I felt silly when Mom asked you and Caleb. And besides, you wouldn't talk to me at school, and I didn't know why not." "Stop," Ella begged. "Are you seriously saying that you don't know what you did wrong to make me not want to be your friend?" Miserably, Katie shrugged. "I thought it was because I was new and Mom says I'm too shy." "The reason I wouldn't be your friend isn't because you're new or shy. Who cares about that? It's because of what you did to Hamlet," said Ella angrily. "Who's Hamlet?" Katie cried again. "Hamlet is the hamster you dumped in my grandpa's garbage can," Ella said loud and clear. She stormed back to the porch and pointed to the empty cage. "That's his cage, as if you didn't know." Katie followed the direction of Ella's finger. "That's not Hamlet's." "Of course it is. Stop pretending." "It's not," Katie insisted. "That cage belonged to Daisy." It was Ella's turn to look shocked. "Who's Daisy?" Katie blinked. "Daisy was my silver and gray hamster. She was only 6 months old, but she died just before we moved. I buried her in the yard." Chapter 11, An Adoption Record. Ella left Katie's house in a daze and walked into her grandpa's garden center. "Hello, Ella." Grandpa came out from his office, took one look at her face, and guided her inside. "Tell me," he invited. "Grandpa, I've done something awful." She felt the tears well up and did nothing to try and stop them. "Does this have anything to do with Katie Platt?" he asked gently. Ella nodded. "I've made her really upset, and it was totally my fault." And she told him about the awful mistake she'd made and how she'd shouted and made Katie cry. "It turns out it wasn't Katie after all," she sobbed. "It was someone else who dumped Hamlet." Her grandfather put his arm around her shoulder. "Ah, I see." I feel so horrible, Grandpa. Katie had to bury Daisy in a grave at her old house, and she misses her so much. Yes, he said. You were a little bit hasty, Ella. That's the way you're made. Did you say you were sorry? Ella nodded. But sorry isn't enough. But in another way, you've helped Katie, her grandpa pointed out. You and Caleb have spent a lot of time training your dogs. They're much better than they used to be. Ella nodded. And we could keep on doing that if Katie wants us to, or wants me to. Caleb could keep doing it, no problem. He hasn't done anything to upset her. Grandpa let her sit for a while. You just jumped to the wrong conclusion, Ella, and now you're trying to put it right. From now on, things will be different between you and Katie. I hope. Ella sniffed and stood up. You're right, she said more firmly. Things will be different. Thanks, Grandpa. I have to go. 4, Caleb reported when Ella returned to Animal Magic. A man named Tony Watson came and offered Gus a home. He already has 2 Jack Russells, so Gus has gone to join them. 4, Ella sighed wearily. She went and sat behind the reception desk. Caleb stared at her. What's up? Nothing. For a while, Ella fidgeted and pretended to straighten the stacks of flyers. Then she jumped down from her stool and shot off into the small animals unit. Hi, Hamlet, she muttered when she reached his cage. For a while, Hamlet kept out of sight behind a mound of wood shavings. Then he crept out, and Ella spotted his sweet brown face. He peered at her with his button-bright eyes. So we'll never know who dumped you, Hamlet, Ella began in a gentle, serious voice. And honestly, I wish I'd never tried to find out. I mean, what does it really matter, as long as we find you a wonderful new home? Little Hamlet tipped his head to one side. That's right. What does it matter? Someone will love you, Ella promised, putting her face right up to the bars of his cage. Sooner or later, we'll find you the perfect owner. Where's Mom? I need to give her a message. Ella had made up her mind and dashed back into the reception area. What message? Caleb asked. Here, let me write it down. Ella scribbled a note and pushed it toward him. No time to explain. Just make sure Mom gets this and does what it asks. I'm in a hurry. I have to spring clean Hamlet's cage. It was 5 o'clock, time for Animal Magic to close its doors, when Mrs. Platt arrived with Katie. Mom was chatting with Caleb and Joel in the reception area. Ah, Julia, I'm glad you got my message, she said with a mysterious smile. Ella's in the small animals unit waiting for Katie. Mrs. Platt whispered in Katie's ear and ushered her inside. Katie looked nervous. She glanced at the 2 Harlequin rabbits and Lulu and Lacey. Then she moved on down the row. Hi, Katie, Ella said quietly. She was standing beside Hamlet's cage. Katie relaxed when she saw Hamlet. Hi, she replied, getting as close to Hamlet as she could. You're so handsome. Would you like to hold him? Ella offered. Shyly, Katie opened the cage and lifted Hamlet out. Soft and silky, she muttered. He's beautiful. Little Hamlet twitched his nose and looked up at Katie. Mom thinks he's probably only about 3 months old, Ella said, but he's really tame and nice to handle. Yes, Katie's face was all smiles. So I was wondering, since you already know how to take care of hamsters, and considering my mom called your mom to ask if it would be okay, I was wondering if you'd like to give Hamlet a home. She said yes, Ella announced, carrying Hamlet's cage and leading Katie back to the reception area. Joel was already filling out the form. Hamlet, he wrote in the space, requesting the adopted pet's first name. Platt, he wrote in the space, asking for the last name. What's Hamlet's favorite treat? An excited Katie asked Ella. Apples, but not too much. If he's sleeping, don't try to pick him up. Katie nodded. I used to whistle to Daisy and she'd come to the front of her cage. Do you think I can teach Hamlet to do that? Definitely. Ella couldn't tell who was the happiest, herself, Katie, or Hamlet. Make that 5, she grinned at Caleb, who is taking Hamlet's name off the website. 5 adoptions in one day. And you can come and see Hamlet whenever you like, Katie told Ella. Tomorrow? Ella asked in a flash. She held the door open for Mrs. Platt to carry the cage out to the car. What time? I'll see you at school to arrange it, Katie promised, hurrying out to the car. 5! Hugo, Buster, Frankie, Gus, and best of all, Hamlet. Ella waved goodbye to Katie as her mom drove off. And now her dad was crossing the yard toward the animal hospital with a person Ella recognized. A dark-haired woman. Oh, yes, Jen Andrews. Meet our new assistant, Dad announced. Jen's going to replace Joel. Welcome to Animal Magic. Mom smiled at Jen, standing in the doorway with Joel, Caleb, and Ella beside her. Yes, and good luck, Joel added. You'll need it if you're going to work with this animal-crazy family. Jen nodded, then smiled as her eyes settled on Ella's happy face. I have a good feeling about this place, she said. I'm sure I'm going to be very happy here. The end.